Check, check, check. 1 2 1 2. Hey, Shalom Israel. Most High in Christ bless. Let me know if you can see and hear us clearly. You tuned in to IUIC 4 chapters a day. I'll give you a couple of minutes to make sure you can all see and hear us clearly. Okay, I can hear it. Got a slight delay.
Check, 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 check. My check. We good?
Mic check. 1 2 1 2. All right, so say a little louder. Is that good? That good? Turn up a little. Okay. It keeps saying a little more. Hey, y'all want more Judah in the mic? Is that what it is? They want some more Judah in the mic. All right, all right. Okay, sounds good. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started.
Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah. Okay, all praises, all praises. Again, you're tuned in to IUIC 4 chapters a day, where we read through the Bible from Genesis through Revelation. Okay, 4 chapters a day, so that we can get the whole Bible read in 1 year. So if you've never read the Bible from front to back, this is your opportunity. What we will do is, it's not a class, so what we're going to do is we will touch on some highlighted parts of the chapters, give you some basic precepts to help with the understanding. We're reading in Judges. A lot of it is straightforward, but we will bring out some of the precepts to help you with the understanding. All right. So I'm Officer Kimmy Will of Orlando Camp. And to my right.
Officer in the diet.
All right. So we're gonna get started. Again, we are reading Judges chapters 1 through 4. So let's go on and get started. Ready?
The book of Judges, chapter 1, verse 1. Now, after the death of Joshua, it came to pass that the children of Israel asked the Lord, saying, who shall go up for us against the Canaanites first, to fight against them? And the Lord said, Judah shall go up. Behold, I have delivered the land into his hand. And Judah said unto Simeon his brother, come up with me into my lot, that we may fight against the Canaanites, and I likewise will go with thee into thy lot. So Simeon went with them. And Judah went up, and the Lord delivered the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hand. And they slew of them in Bezek 10,000 men. And they found Adonibezek in Bezek, and they fought against him, and they slew the Canaanites and the Perizzites. But Adonibezek fled, and they pursued after him, and caught him, and cut off his thumbs and his great toes. And Adonibezek said, 60 kings, having their thumbs and their great toes cut off, gathered their meat under my table. As I have done, so God hath requited me. And they brought him to Jerusalem, and there he died. Now the children of Judah have fought against Jerusalem, and had taken it, and smitten it with the edge of the sword, and set the city on fire. And afterward the children of Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites that dwelt in the mountain, and in the south, and in the valley. And Judah went against the Canaanites that dwelt in Hebron. Now the name of Hebron before was Kirjatharba, and they slew Sheshai and Ahiman and Talmah. And from thence he went against the inhabitants of the bird, and the name of the bird before was Kirjasepher. And Caleb said, he that smiteth Kirjasepher and taketh it, to him will I give Aksah my daughter to wife. And Othniel the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it, and he gave him Aksah his daughter to wife. And it came to pass, when she came to him, that she moved him to ask of her father a field. And she lighted from off her ass. And Caleb said unto her, What wilt thou? And she said unto him, Give me a blessing, for thou hast given me a south land. Give me also springs of water. And Caleb gave her the upper springs and the nether springs.
All right. So I want to go back. Go ahead. You got it. I want to go back before we go any further. I want to go back and read verse 8. Verse 8.
Verse 8. Now the children of Judah had fought against Jerusalem, and
Uh-huh.
had taken it, and smitten it with the edge of the sword, and set the city on fire.
Now it says the children of Judah fought against Jerusalem. The children of Judah fought against Jerusalem. First, let's go back to Joshua, chapter 15, verse 63.
The book of Joshua, chapter 15, verse 63. As for the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah could not drive them out, but the Jebusites dwell with the children of Judah at Jerusalem unto this day.
You know what? I forgot to say this before we got started. Who on here can scribe? Do we have a brother that can scribe? Brother that can scribe. We covered Judges 1 through 15 and no 1 through 14, and now we're going back to verse 8. Do we have a brother or a soldier that can scribe? So we can get everybody caught up. A brother or a soldier that can scribe. Hey, Yuri, you might have to scribe, bro. Not getting anybody on here. Yep, I see it. Cool. So just put up Judges 1 through 14 and then verse 8.
Joshua.
Yeah, and then we're going to go to Joshua 15 and 63. All right, now put Joshua 15:63. Go ahead, officer.
The book of Joshua, chapter 15, verse 63.
Uh-huh.
As for the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah could not drive them out, but the Jebusites dwell with the children of Judah at Jerusalem unto this day.
So the children of Judah were supposed to drive the Jebusites out of the land. Let's jump back down to verse. What verse is that? 8. Yeah. No, Joshua. Stay in the same chapter. Verse 8.
The book of Joshua, chapter 15, verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
And the border went up by the valley of the son of Hinnom unto the south side of the Jebusite. The same is Jerusalem. And the border went up to the top of the mountain that lieth before the valley of Hinnom westward.
So from there, let's jump back to chapter 12. We're going to read. We're going to read verses 1. Is that what I want? No, Judges chapter 12. Yeah, verses 1 through 10. Joshua, I'm sorry. Chapter 12, 1 through 10.
The book of Joshua, chapter 12, verse 1. Now these are the kings of the land, which the children of Israel smote, and possessed their land on the other side Jordan, toward the rising of the sun, from the river Arnon unto Mount Hermon, and all the plain on the east. Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and ruled from Auror, which is upon the bank of the river Arnon, and from the middle of the river, and from half Gilead, even unto the river Jabbok, which is the border of the children of Ammon. Verse 3. And from the plain to the sea of Chinarath on the east, and unto the sea of the plain, even the salt sea on the east, the way to Beshet Amath. And
Okay, hold on. Yuri, can you put up that first? You can't share it. Okay, all right, that's all right then. Go ahead, keep reading.
verse 3. And from the plain to the sea of Chinarath on the east, and to the sea of the plain, even the salt sea on the east, the way to Bethjeshamath, and from the south under Ashdod Pasgah, and the coast of Og, king of Bashan, which was on the remnant of the giants, which was of the remnant of the giants that dwelt as Ashtaroth and Edrei, and reigned in Mount Hermon, and in Salcah, and in all Bashan unto the border of the Geshurites, and the Maacathites, and half Gilead, the border of Sihon, king of Heshbon. Them did Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the children of Israel smite. And Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave it for a possession unto the Reubenites, and the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh. And these are the kings of the country which Joshua and the children of Israel smote this side Jordan on the west, from Baal Gad in the valley of Lebanon, even unto the Mount Halak, that goeth up to Seir, which Joshua gave unto the tribes of Israel for a possession, according to their divisions. In the mountains, and in the valleys, and in the plains, and in the springs, and in the wilderness, and in the south country, the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. The king of Jericho, one, the king of Ai, which is beside Bethel, one,
Uh
the
huh.
king of Jerusalem,
Now that's what we wanted to get to. Verse 10, the king of what?
the king of Jerusalem,
Uh huh.
one, the king of Hebron, one.
So the king of Jerusalem won, because when we started in verse 1, it says, "Now these are the kings of the land which the children of Israel smote and possessed their land." Okay? So now let's go back and read Judges chapter 1 verse 8. And if you we can't share the screen right now, but I wanted to post some maps. But if you have your Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary, you can go to page, or you can go to the rear, and map number 4 is a dividing of the land. There are some, you can Google it and pull up 12 tribes, like ancient 12 tribes charts or maps also. All right, so let's read that again.
The
1 and 8.
the book of Judges, chapter 1 and verse 8.
Uh-huh.
Now the children of Judah had fought against Jerusalem, and had taken it, and smitten it with the edge of the sword,
Mm-hmm.
and set the city on fire. And afterward, the children of Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites that dwelt in the mountain, and in the south, and in the valley. And Judah went against the Canaanites that dwelt in Hebron. Now the name of Hebron before was Kirjathabar. And they slew Sheshai, and Ahiman, and Tamar. And from thence he went against the inhabitants of the bird, and the name of the bird before was Kirjathsepher. And Caleb said, He that smiteth Kirjathsepher and taketh it, to him will I give Aksah my daughter to wife. And Othniel the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it, and he gave him Aksah his daughter to wife.
So now in this chapter 1, that's what I said, most of it is straightforward, but we are reviewing a little bit of the history. Let's go back to Joshua again, chapter 15 and verse 16. Joshua chapter 15, verse 16.
The book of Joshua, chapter 15, and verse 16. And Caleb said, He that smiteth Kirjathsepher and taketh it, to him will I give Aksah my daughter to wife.
Mm-hmm.
And Othniel the son of Kenaz, the brother of Caleb, took it, and he gave him Aksah his daughter to wife.
You see that? So we're reading about the history that we just read in Joshua. So it's not been that many days ago that we read this history, and it's repeating again here in the first book of Judges. All right, let's go ahead, verse 14.
Judges chapter 1, verse 14. And it came to pass, when she came to him, that she moved him to ask of her father a field. And she lighted from off her ass, And Caleb said unto her, What wilt thou? And she said unto him, Give me a blessing, for thou hast given me a south land. Give me also springs of water. And Caleb gave her the upper springs and the nether springs. And the children of the Kenite, Moses' father-in-law, went up out of the city of palm trees with the children of Judah into the wilderness of Judah, which lieth in the south of Arad. And they went and dwelt among the people. And Judah went with Simeon his brother, and they slew the Canaanites that inhabited Savah, and utterly destroyed it. And the name of the city was called Harmah. Also, Judah took Gaza with the coast thereof, and Ascalon with the coast thereof, and Ekron with the coast thereof. And the Lord was with Judah, and he drave out the inhabitants of the mountain, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley, because they had chariots of iron. And they gave Hebron unto Caleb, as Moses said, and he expelled thence the three sons of Anak. And the children of Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites that inhabited Jerusalem, but the Jebusites dwell with the children of Benjamin in Jerusalem unto this day. And the house of Joseph, they also went up against Bethel, and the Lord was with them. And the house of Joseph sent to desecrate Bethel. Now the name of the city before was Luz. And the spies saw a man come forth out of the city, and they said unto him, Show us, we pray thee, the entrance into the city, and we will show thee mercy. And when he showed them the entrance into the city, they smote the city with the edge of the sword. But they let go the man and all his family. And the man went into the land of the Hittites, and built a city, and called the name thereof Luz, which is the name thereof unto this day. Neither did Manasseh drive out the inhabitants of Bethshean and her towns, nor Tanakh and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Dor and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Ithlium and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Megiddo and her towns, and the Canaanites would dwell in that land. And it came to pass, when Israel was strong, that they put the Canaanites to tribute, and did not utterly drive them out. Neither did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites that dwelt in Gezer, but the Canaanites dwelt in Gezer among them. Neither did Zebulun drive out the inhabitants of Catron, nor the inhabitants of Nahalo, but the Canaanites dwelt among them, and became tributaries. Neither did Asher drive out the inhabitants of Akko, nor the inhabitants of Zidon, nor of Alab, nor of Akzib, nor of Helba, nor of Aphik, nor of Rahab. But the Asherites dwelt among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land, for they did not drive them out. Neither did Naphtali drive out the inhabitants of Bethshemesh, nor the inhabitants of Bethanath, but he dwelt among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land. Nevertheless, the inhabitants of Bethshemesh and of Bethanath became tributaries unto them. And the Amorites forced the children of Dan into the mountain, for they would not suffer them to come down to the valley. But the Amorites would dwell in the mount Heres in Ajalon, and in Shaalbim. Yet the hand of the house of Joseph prevailed, so that they became tributaries. And the coast of the Amorites was from the going up to Akrabim, from the rock and upward.
So what we're reading is how we did not drive out all the inhabitants of the land which the Lord had commanded us. Okay? So each of the tribes, when we're reading through, says they did not drive out the inhabitants of the land. And we did what? We dwelt among them. All right? When we became strong, we put them to tribute, but we still dwelt among them. All right. So we're going to get into a little bit more of that in chapter 2 about us dwelling among the inhabitants of the land. Let's go ahead. Chapter 2, verse 1.
The book of Judges, chapter 2, verse 1. And an angel of the Lord came up from Gilgal to Bashem, and said, I made you to go up out of Egypt, and have brought you unto the land which I swear unto your fathers. And I said, I will never I will never break my covenant with you, and ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. Ye shall throw down their altars, but ye have not obeyed my voice. Why have ye done this?
So it says, and ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of the land. Let's go to Exodus chapter 23. It says, you shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. And what we find is today, the places that we're scattered, what have we done? We've made leagues with the inhabitant of the land. The scripture says, envy not thou the oppressor and choose none of his ways. But you know what we find ourselves in? We find ourselves in sports leagues and bowling leagues. We go TGIF or to dinner parties with them. You know, so we have made a league with the inhabitants of the land. Let's see why the Lord warned us against this, and then what has happened to us, what we can even see going on to this very day. Let's read that Exodus 23, verse 32 and 33.
The book of Exodus, chapter 23, verse 32. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. They shall not dwell in thy land, lest they make thee sin against me.
Read that last part again.
They shall not dwell in thy land,
Uh-huh.
lest they make thee sin against me.
They shall not dwell in the land, because if they dwell among us, they are going to make us sin against the Lord. Okay. Matter of fact, I just thought about this one. I think it's Deuteronomy 12. Uh, 12. Let me find it real quick. Yeah, 12, Deuteronomy 12. Start at 28.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 12, verse 28.
Uh-huh.
Observe and hear all these words which I command thee, that it may go well with thee, and with thy children after thee forever, when thou doest that which is good and right in the sight of the Lord thy God.
So we're supposed to observe and not only do these commandments, but teach them to our children. And the Lord said, and it will be good and right in his sight. So if we do what he commands us to do, then we're going to get what? A blessing, right? Read on.
Verse 29. When the Lord thy God shall cut off the nations from before thee, whither thou goest to possess them, and thou succeedest them, and dwellest in their land.
Uh-huh.
Take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them.
Uh-huh.
After that they be destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods?
That's the point I wanted to get to. Because then we say, how did these nations serve their gods? Hold that, go right back to Exodus 23.
Exodus 23, verse 33. They shall not dwell in thy land,
Uh-huh.
lest they make thee to sin against me.
Lest they make us to sin against our God. Let's go back and read that again in Deuteronomy 12 and 30.
Deuteronomy 12, verse 30. Take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them.
Uh-huh.
After that they be destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods?
So we will get curious. How did these nations serve the God? What is that? What is that thing they doing with that tree? What's that they hanging on the tree?
Right.
Why they giving each other gifts? Hey, I like that thing. Let's look. I want to do that.
Look interesting.
Read on, verse 31.
Verse 31. Thou shalt not do so unto the Lord thy God.
Uh-huh.
For every abomination to the Lord, which he hated, have they done unto their gods. For even their sons and their daughters they have burnt in the fire to their gods.
Read on.
What things soever I command you, observe to do it. Thou shalt not add thereto, nor diminish from it.
You see that? We're not supposed to add to God's commandments or take away from God's commandments. All right, let's go back. Judges, read that again
Two
in
and two.
verse 2. 2 and 2.
The book of Judges, chapter 2, verse 2.
Uh-huh.
And ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. Ye shall throw down their altars, but ye have not obeyed my voice.
Wait a minute. Then he says we shall throw down their altars, right? Where they serve their gods, right? Let's get that in Deuteronomy 7. Let's get that in Deuteronomy 7, verse 25.
Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 25.
Uh-huh.
The graven images of their gods shall ye burn with fire. Thou shalt not desire the gold, the silver, or gold that is on them, nor take it unto thee, lest thou be snared therein. For it
Go ahead.
for it is an abomination to the Lord thy God.
You see how the Lord keeps referring or reiterating that we'll be snared, we'll
Right.
be trapped by serving these other gods, these nations, their
Right.
gods, doing what they do will be a trap to us, a snare unto us. Okay, let's go back.
The book of Judges, chapter 2 and verse 2. And ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. Ye shall throw down their altars, but ye have not obeyed my voice. Why have ye done this? Wherefore I also said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns in your sides, and their God shall be a snare unto you. And it came to pass, when the angel of the Lord spake these words unto the children of Israel, that the people lifted up their voice and wept. And they called the name of that place Bochim, and they sacrificed there unto the Lord. And when Joshua had let the people go, the children of Israel went, every man unto his inheritance to possess the land. And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders that outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord that he did for Israel. And Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old. And they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath Heres, in the mount of Ephraim, on the north side of the hill Gaash.
So Joshua was of the tribe of Ephraim.
Right.
Right? Let's prove that. Let's go back to Numbers. Numbers chapter 13 and verse 8. Joshua was of the tribe of Ephraim.
The book of Numbers, chapter 13, verse 8. Of the tribe of Ephraim, Hoshea, the son of Nun.
That's Joshua. Okay. Hosea. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Hosea. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Where is the? Yeah. I'm sorry. That's Joshua, the son of Nun. Right. So that's who we're reading about right now. He died at 110 years old, and he was born in the land of his inheritance. I'm sorry, buried in the land of his inheritance. All right. Let's go to verse 10. Judges chapter
Judges
2, verse 10.
chapter 2 and verse 10.
Uh-huh.
And also all that generation were gathered unto their fathers. And there arose another generation after them, which knew not the Lord, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and served Baalim.
So now we're going to start seeing a pattern develop that when you have a judge in Israel and he dies, then we go off as a people. We just go off. Which shows you we need leadership. Our people is a people that need leadership. That's why. Wait a minute. Go to Proverbs 3 and 5. That's why the Lord says this, because we are a people that need leaders. Okay.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 3 and verse 5.
Uh-huh.
Trust in the Lord with all thine heart,
Uh-huh.
and lean not unto thine own understanding.
And do what?
Lean not unto thine own understanding.
Uh-huh.
In
Read
all,
six. Yeah,
in
read
all
six.
thy, verse 6. In all thy ways acknowledge him,
Uh-huh.
and he shall direct thy
And
paths.
he shall direct our paths. Because we're reading that when Joshua died,
Right.
and then the elders of that generation died, those that were following the Lord,
Right.
keeping the commandments, the people bugged out. And what do we see today? You'll have brothers and sisters that don't really believe in the Bible, and they'll come with theories, and they think it's their own thoughts.
Right.
But it's not their own thoughts. Those thoughts were given to them. Those thoughts are given to them. I know bishops say this a lot, and the deacons. TV.
Right.
That's where your mind comes from. Right. It's television. Because you're either going to be following the one true living God of Israel, or you're going to be following the prince of the power of the air in this world, which is the so-called white man or Satan, okay? The devil. All right, so now let's go back. Where we leave off. Judges chapter 2. Start at 11 again.
Book of Judges, chapter 2, verse 11. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and served Baalim. And they forsook the Lord God of their fathers, which brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods, of the gods of the people that were round about them, and bowed themselves unto them, and provoked the Lord to anger. And they forsook the Lord, and served Baal and Ashtaroth. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he delivered them into the hands of spoilers that spoiled them. And he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies.
So now, because we forsook the Lord, we could not stand before our enemies. Look at us today. Black Lives Matter, hands up, don't shoot. What are we doing? We cannot stand before our enemies. So now we beg our enemies to see us as people, to see us as human, right? Get a Hosea chapter 5, verse 15. We coming back here. Hosea chapter 5, verse 15. You got it? You want me to read it?
Yes, sir, I got you.
Okay.
The book of Hosea, chapter 5, verse 15.
Uh-huh.
I will go and return to my place
Uh-huh.
till they acknowledge their offense.
What's our offense? Leaving off the commandments to serve other gods.
Right.
Read on.
I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense and seek my face. In their affliction, they will seek me early.
And so now, what are we reading about? We're reading in Judges about the affliction that's going to come upon our people because we turned our backs on the one true living God. So let's go back. Verse 14.
The book of Judges, chapter 2, verse 14. And the
Is
anger.
is that where we left off at?
Verse. Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir. Verse
that's what I
14.
thought. All right.
And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he delivered them into the hands of spoilers that spoiled them. And he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies. Whithersoever they went out. The hand of the Lord was against them for evil, as the Lord had said, and as the Lord had sworn unto them, and they were greatly distressed.
And they were greatly distressed. Now listen, when we read that, whithersoever they went, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil.
Right.
Now, you look at us today. Is that not true today?
Yep, absolutely.
We wonder why we cannot get anywhere as a people. We wonder why we have individual millionaires, but yet we don't have any kind of we don't have what infrastructure. We don't have our own farms, and I'm not talking about one or two farms. I'm talking about farms that we could set up our own um, uh, stores so that we could feed ourselves. Right? We don't have any of our own distribution. We don't have any of our own um, hospitals, textiles, things that you need as a nation to sustain the nation. We don't have these things, right? So it says, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil. Let's get Deuteronomy 28 and verse 19. The hand of the Lord was against us for evil.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 19. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out.
Read that again.
Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out.
So that was cursed. We would be coming in from war and going out into war. And the same thing is happening to us to this very day because our people don't think we at war. Our people really don't think that this enemy is at war with us. But when he gives you a false image, he's at war with you. When he gives you the a false religion and false education, he's at war with you. When he gives you slums and ghettos to live in, bad foods, he's at war with you. Okay, so let's go back and read that again. Judges 2:15.
Judges 2, verse 15. Whithersoever they went out, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil, as the Lord has said, and as the Lord has sworn unto them, and they were greatly distressed. Nevertheless, the Lord raised up judges which delivered them out of the hand of those that spoiled them. And yet they would not hearken unto the judges, but they went a whoring after other gods, and bowed themselves unto them. They turned quickly out of the way which their fathers walked in, obeying the commandments of the Lord, but they did not so. And the Lord raised them up judges. Then the Lord was with the judge and delivered them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For it repented the Lord because of their groanings, by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them. And it came to pass.
So hold on. So it repented the Lord because of their groanings by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them. So I'm gonna read this in Exodus chapter 3. We'll read this in Exodus chapter 3, verse 7. Yeah.
The book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse 7. And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows.
So you see that? So even when we were in Egypt, he said, I hear your crying. I hear your groaning. I understand that you being afflicted. Right? He said he understood these things, right?
Sure.
Let's get Zechariah chapter 2, verse 8. Zechariah.
The book of Zechariah, chapter 2, verse 8. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye.
Read that again. He that toucheth you.
Toucheth the apple of his eye.
So we are the apple of God's eye. Okay, that's why. Now let's go back and read Judges 2:18.
Judges chapter 2, verse 18. And when the Lord raised them up judges, then the Lord was with the judge, and delivered them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For it repented the Lord because of their groanings, by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them.
You see that? Because the Lord doesn't want to see us being on the bottom.
Right.
But what do? We trespass against his commandments, so we have to be punished for it. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 19. And it came to pass, when the judge was dead, that they returned and corrupted themselves more than their fathers.
You see that? As soon as we got out of the condition that we was in, we went right back into doing the same thing again. Go ahead.
In following other gods to serve them, and to bow down unto them. They cease not from their own doings, nor from their stubborn way.
Nor from what?
Nor from their stubborn way.
Because this is a rebellious people. We are a rebellious people, even to this very day. Read on.
And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel. And he said, because that this people had transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and have not hearkened unto my voice, I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Joshua left when he died.
So now let's read that in Joshua. So he's saying he ain't driving these people out no more, right? These other nations. Let's get that in Joshua 23 and 12.
The book of Joshua, chapter 23 and verse 12.
Uh-huh.
Else, if ye do in any wise go back and cleave unto the remnant of these nations, even these that remain among you, and shall make marriages with them, and go in unto them, and they to you, know for a certainty.
Know for what?
Know for a certainty.
So it's gonna happen. Go ahead.
That the Lord your God will no more drive out any of these nations from before you, but they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until ye perish from off this good land which the Lord your God hath given you.
So let's go back to Joshua and read 21 again.
The book of Judges, chapter 2, verse 21. I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Joshua left when he died.
Now I want you to see. Let's go back in the same chapter, and now let's read verse 2 and 3 again.
Joshua chapter 23, verse 2. And Joshua called for all Israel, and for their elders, and for their heads.
I'm sorry. Judges 2 and 3. Yes.
The book of Judges, chapter 2, and verse 3. Wherefore I also said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns in your sides, and their God shall be a snare unto you. And it came to pass when the angel.
You had Judges 2 and 2?
2 verse 2.
Yeah.
And ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land.
Uh-huh.
Ye shall throw down their altars,
Right.
but ye have not obeyed my voice. Why have ye done this?
So now he says we shall make no league with them, right? Now we just read that we weren't supposed to make marriages with them, right?
Right.
Read on. He says, "Why have ye done this?" Go ahead.
Wherefore I also said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns in your sides, and their gods shall be a snare unto you.
That's what we just read, right?
Sir.
But we read that if we cleave unto them and make marriages with them.
Right.
So in the course of us making leagues with them, what else did we do? We made marriages with them.
Right.
Now let's go back to verse 21, which you just read.
Judges chapter 2, verse 21. I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Joshua left when he died, that through them I may prove Israel, whether they will keep the way of the Lord to walk therein, as their fathers did keep it, or not. Therefore the Lord left those nations without driving out hastily, neither delivered he them into the hand of Joshua.
Okay.
Chapter 3 and verse 1. Now these are the nations which the Lord left to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel as had not known all the wars of Canaan, only that the generations of the children of Israel might know, to teach them war, at the least such as before knew nothing thereof, namely 5 lords of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites that dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon unto the entering in of Hamath.
So in verse 3, it says, the Philistines and all the Canaanites. So what does that mean? And all the Canaanites. Okay, let's go back to Genesis chapter 10. It says, and all the Canaanites. Let's see who these Canaanites are. 10 and 15.
The book of Genesis, chapter 10, verse 15.
Uh-huh.
And Canaan begat Sidon his firstborn,
Okay.
and Heth,
Mhm.
and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgasite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Sinite, and the Arvadite, and the Zemarite, and the Hamadite. And afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad.
You see that? So these are all the families of the Canaanites. All right. So let's go back.
The book of Judges, chapter 3, verse 3. Namely, 5 lords of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites that dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon unto the entering in of Hamath. And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Lord, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and Hivites, and Jebusites. And they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their gods. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and forgat the Lord their God, and served Baalim in the groves.
You see that? So now we took their daughters to be wives and gave our sons to their daughters, right? So let's get that in the law. Let's get that in Deuteronomy 7.
Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse. Start at 1. Jump to the point.
Yeah, you started one.
7 and verse 1. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hast cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them,
We read that earlier, right? Or league.
Right.
You all right? Go ahead.
Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly.
So I want to go now to Deuteronomy 20 because, the Lord constantly repeats things because he knew we was going to be stubborn and rebellious people. I want you to read Deuteronomy 20 and 1.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 20 and verse 1. When thou goest out to battle against thine enemies, and seest horses and chariots and all people more than thou, be not afraid of them, for the Lord thy God is with thee, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
So he says, be not afraid of them.
Right,
Our God is with us, right?
sir.
Jump down to verse 10.
Verse Deuteronomy 20 and verse 10.
Mhm.
When thou comest nigh unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it. It shall be, if it make thee answer of peace, and open unto thee, then it shall be that all the people that is found therein shall be tributaries unto thee.
Now, we just read that when we didn't drive out the inhabitants of the land, we made them tributaries, right?
Right.
Okay, keep reading.
And they shall serve thee. And if it will make no peace with thee, but will make war against thee, then thou shalt besiege it. And when the Lord thy God hath delivered it into thine hands, thou shalt smite every male thereof with the edge of the sword.
Now, jump down to verse 16.
Verse 16. But of the cities of these people,
So, wait a minute. Now, it leads off by saying, but of the cities of these people. So,
Right.
there's a different stipulation for these people, right?
Right.
Go ahead.
but of the cities of these people,
Uh-huh.
which the Lord thy God doth give thee for an inheritance, thou shalt save alive nothing that breedeth.
Wait a minute. That means total destruction, right?
Right. Wipe out.
Okay. All right. Read on.
But thou shalt utterly destroy them, namely the Hittites and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, and as the Lord thy God had commanded thee,
Mm-hmm.
that they teach you not to do after all their abominations, which they have done unto their gods. So should ye sin against the Lord your God.
Didn't we read that earlier? The Lord just keeps repeating these things to us because he wants us to acknowledge him and only him. All right, let's go back. Let's go back. Read Judges 3, 5 through 7 again.
The book of Judges, chapter 3, verse 5. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, and Amorites, and Perizzites, and Hivites, and Jebusites.
Stop. If those are the same people he said to utterly destroy,
Right. Yep.
but we dwelling among them. Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their gods. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and forgat the Lord their God, and served Baalim and the groves. Therefore, the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of Cushan Rishathaim,
Yeah.
king of Mesopotamia. And the children of Israel served Kashasha Rishathaim 8 years. And when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel, who delivered them, even Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged Israel.
So, wait a minute. The Spirit of the Lord was on him, and he judged Israel. But today, our people say, you can't judge me. Okay. All right, read on.
Verse 10. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged Israel, and went out to war. And the Lord delivered Cushash Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia, unto his hand, and his hand prevailed against Cushan Rishathaim.
So it says, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged Israel and went out to war. Right? And went out to war. The Spirit of the Lord was on him, and he went out to war. Right? Let's get that in Exodus 15 to 3.
The book of Exodus, chapter 15, and verse 3. The Lord is a man of war.
The Lord is what?
The Lord is a man of war.
You sure that's not say a woman of war?
The Lord is a man of war.
The Lord is a man of war. Okay? So for those that ask when we out on the streets teaching, where are your women? They're not at war. Okay, that's what it is.
Right.
They not at war because the Lord is a man of war. Okay? And for those of you who don't think we at war now, let's get that in Corinthians. Let's just get an understanding. We come back to Judges. We are still at war. Okay. Weapons of our warfare, chapter 10. 2 Corinthians 10 and 3.
The book of Second Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 3. For though we walk in flesh, we do not war after the flesh.
We do not what?
We do not war after the flesh.
That means we are still at war. Okay? It's a spiritual war that we at, but we are still nonetheless at war. Read on.
For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds.
And what's the weapons that we using today? This Bible. This Bible is exposing all the lies on the earth. Go ahead.
Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ, and having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled.
So we are still at war. Okay, so the spirit of the Lord was on Othniel, and he judged Israel and went out to war. So let's pick it back up in verse 11.
The book
chapter
of
3:11.
Judges, chapter 3, verse 11. And the land had rest 40 years, and Othniel the son of Kenaz died. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord.
Here we go again.
Right. And the Lord strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab, against Israel.
So wait a minute. It says the Lord strengthened him.
Right.
The Lord strengthened him against us.
Right.
Because as we've been going through the Bible, when I know you remember in Joshua, how the hearts of the people melted because they heard of the things that the Lord did for us. Now the Lord is strengthening them against us for breaking his commandments. Go ahead, read on.
And the Lord strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab, against Israel, because they had done evil in the sight of the Lord. And he gathered unto him the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and smote Israel, and possessed the city of palm trees. So the children of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years. But when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised them up a deliverer, Ehud, the son of Gerah, a Benjamite, a man left-handed, and by him the children of Israel sent a present unto Eglon, the king of Moab.
You see how the Lord would bring up judges of different tribes also.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
But Ehud made him a dagger, which had 2 edges of a cubit length, and he did gird it under his raiment upon his right thigh. And he brought the present unto Eglon, king of Moab. And Eglon was a very fat man. And when he had made an end to offer the present, he sent away the people that bare the present. But he himself turned again from the quarries that were by Gilgal, and said, I have a secret errand unto thee, O king, who said, Keep silence. And all that stood by him went out from him. And Ehud came unto him, and he was sitting in a summer parlor, which he had for himself alone. And Ehud said, I have a message from God unto thee. And he arose out of his seat. And Ehud put forth his left hand, and took the dagger from his right thigh, and thrust it into his belly. And the half also went in after the blade, and the fat closed upon the blade, so that he could not draw the dagger out of his belly, and the dirt came out. And then Ehud went forth through the porch, and shut the doors of the parlor upon him, and locked them. And when he was gone out, his servants came, and when they saw that, behold, the doors of the parlor were locked, they said, Surely he covereth his feet in his summer chamber. And they tarried till they were ashamed, and behold, he opened it not.
When it says he covered his feet, and they tarried, they waited outside because they were ashamed. They thought he was in there taking a dump.
Right.
All right. Go ahead, read on.
And they tarried till they were ashamed, and behold, he opened not the doors of the parlor. Therefore they took a key and opened them, and behold, their lord was fallen down dead on the earth. And Ehud escaped while they tarried, and passed beyond the quarries, and escaped unto Sarath. And it came to pass, when he was come, that he blew a trumpet in the mountain of Ephraim, and the children of Israel went down with him from the mount, and he before them. And he said unto them, Follow after me, for the Lord hath delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand. And they went down after him, and took the fords of Jordan toward Moab, and suffered not a man to pass over. And they slew of Moab at the time about 10,000 men, all lusty and all men of valor, that there escaped not a man. So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel, and the land had rest fourscore years. And after him was Shamgar, the son of Anath, which slew of the Philistines 600 men within Oxgoad, and he also delivered Israel.
And he also delivered Israel. Okay, let's go on to read chapter 4.
Chapter 4, verse 1. And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord when Ehud was dead. And the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazar, the captain of whose host was Sisera, which dwelt in Harosheth of the Gentiles. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, for he had 900 chariots of iron. In 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lephathoth, she judged Israel at that time. And she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in Mount Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. And she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinoam, and of Kadesh, Naphtali, and said unto him, Hath not the Lord God of Israel commanded, saying, Go and draw toward Mount Tabor, and take thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and of the children of Zebulun, and I will draw out unto thee the river Kishon Sisera, the captain of Jabin's army, and with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver him into thine hand. And Barak said unto her, If thou wilt go with me, then I will go. But if thou wilt not go with me, then I will not go. And she said, I will surely go with thee, notwithstanding the journey that thou takest should not be for thine honor. For the Lord shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh. And he went up with 10,000 men at his feet. And Deborah went up with him. Now Heber the Kenite, which was of the children of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moses, had served himself from the Kenites and pitched his tent. Had severed himself from the Kenites and pitched his tent unto the plain of Zanaim, which is by Kadesh. And they showed Sisera that Barak, the son of Abinoam, was gone up to Mount Tabor. And Sisera gathered together all his chariots, even 900 chariots of iron, and all the people that were with him, from Hashareth of the Gentiles unto the river of Kishon. And Deborah said unto Barak, Up, for this is the day in which the Lord hath delivered Sisera into thine hand. Is not the Lord gone out before thee? So Barak went down from Mount Tabor, and 10,000 men after him. And the Lord discomfited Sisera, and all his chariots and all his hosts, with the edge of the sword before Barak, so that Sisera lighted down off his chariot and fled away on his feet. But Barak pursued after the chariots and after the host unto Harosheth of the Gentiles. And all the host of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and there was not a man left. Howbeit Sisera fled away on his feet to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. For there was peace between Jabin, the king of Hazor, and the house of Heber the Kenite. And Jael went out to meet Sisera, and said unto him, Turn in, my lord, turn in to me, fear not. And when he had turned in unto her into the tent, she covered him with a mantle. And he said unto her, Give me, I pray thee, a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. And she opened up a bottle of milk and gave him drink and covered them. Again she said unto her, again he said unto her, Stand in the door of the tent, and it shall be, when any man doth come and inquire of thee, and say, Is there any man here? That thou shalt say, No. Then Jael, Heber's wife, took a nail of the tent, and took an hammer in her hand, and went softly unto him, and smote the nail into his temples, and fastened it into the ground, for he was fast asleep and weary. So he died. And behold, as Barak pursued Sisera, Jael came out to meet him, and said unto him, Come, and I will show thee the man whom thou seekest. And when he came into her tent, behold, Sisera lay dead, and the nail was in his temples. So God subdued on that day Jabin, the king of Canaan, before the children of Israel. And the hand of the children of Israel prospered and prevailed against Jabin, the king of Canaan, until they had destroyed Jabin, king of Canaan.
All right, so that concludes today's reading of Judges chapters 1 through 4. If you have any questions, as always, you can go on the Facebook link of 4 chapters a day. Post your questions. The captains will review your questions and answer them. Remember, we also have classes 3 times a day, 7 days a week. If you want to um, donate, because as Israel builds, continues to build, we need funding. So, can you post that link? All right, we're gonna post the link below for you to donate. All right, www.israelunite.org at alms, or where's the other one that's the fundraising, the IUIC fundraising? That's the one I want. Yeah, IUIC.fundraising. That's the one I want. Post that one. So and remember, what's today? Today's Tuesday, right? Watch Bishop Shout Out Tuesday. All right, you always get uh, a short class, much to learn. Support the truth. All right, Israel. And with that, we're gonna say shalom. Most High in Christ bless.